Looks like Brie has been typing her name in on YouTube again. In a new book titled MCU: The Reign of Marvel Studios, author Joanna Robinson speaks about how Brie Larson has grown disillusioned with Marvel Studios. So this lady, Joanna Robinson, and some other dudes wrote a book described by the New York Times as, quote, a superb chronicle of how Marvel Studios conquered Hollywood. The definitive account of the Hollywood juggernaut thrills, the unauthorized, behind-the-scenes story of the stunning rise and suddenly uncertain reign of the most transformative cultural phenomenon of our time, end quote. So that's cool, I guess. Somebody wrote a book about it. It's not like hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTubers haven't done the exact same thing before, but I guess it's cool that this was written. I haven't read it, but I have some interesting quotes here from the book that show that the author at least somewhat understands what's gone wrong with the MCU. Another quote, the future of those Marvel icons was unclear. The departure of franchise anchors like Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and Scarlett Johansson had already taken its toll, as had the shocking loss of Chadwick Boseman, but other MCU stalwarts were heading for the exits. The Guardians of the Galaxy cast went on a farewell tour, Brie Larson grew disillusioned, and Marvel tussled with Sony in a custody battle over Tom Holland, end quote. As many of you probably know, the MCU doesn't command the same type of dominance it used to in the industry. While their movies are still huge, big-budget blockbuster films, they aren't guaranteed to turn a profit anymore. They aren't guaranteed to pack the theater anymore, whether it be the fact that the MCU did lose all those stars, the budgets have gotten way out of hand, superhero fatigue has set in, and the quality of the films pre-Endgame just isn't there anymore. Stories and characters are shallow and preachy. Disney buys it, Disney ruins it. That seems to be the theme when you look at what's happened with Star Wars or any of the Lucasfilm properties for that matter, Pixar, and obviously the MCU. But just when I think author Joanna Robinson might be onto something, she says this when speaking on the Watch podcast about the book, quote, I don't know if Brie Larson was the wrong person for the role necessarily, but the toxic backlash means that Brie Larson doesn't want to play Carol Danvers anymore, end quote. Toxic, which used to be a word signifying a status effect in Dark Souls, has become synonymous with loud and angry fans. Or at least it has in this context, toxic fandom, very common phrase nowadays. However, I believe that what's really happening is passion is simply being mistaken for toxicity. It's not toxic for fans to have an opinion. It isn't toxic for fans to be upset when a company adapting their favorite properties does wrong by those properties and those characters. Early on, when Captain Marvel first came out and the film was receiving backlash online, Brie Larson's co-star Samuel L. Jackson said that, quote, these incel dudes who hate strong women, or the fact that she's a feminist who has an opinion. She is who she is, and she's genuinely that, end quote. I was there when that backlash occurred. I watched the videos, I read the articles, and I'm pretty damn sure not one of them had a problem with the fact that Brie Larson was a woman. Maybe that she wasn't right for the role, that her performance was flat. Maybe the fact that Captain Marvel was never a particularly popular character to begin with. Yeah, those might be valid critiques, but to flat call fans incels who hate women. I wonder if by incels he's referring to the millions of Marvel fans who bought tickets and paid his salary. But I digress. When asked last year if she would be returning to her role as Captain Marvel, Brie Larson responded,
I don't know. Does anyone want me to do it again?
What? Don't be so modest.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Most of you have probably seen this clip, and I can't say I'm surprised by her response. Brie Larson has a YouTube channel, and on her channel's front page video thing, sorry I don't remember what that's called, she talks about how much she loves YouTube and spends a lot of time on there learning things, yada yada. My point is, when all the Captain Marvel hate was occurring online, I'm sure she was aware of it. I'm sure she watched it. And I've seen Room, that movie, Room. I know she can act. She at least is capable of acting, and well, I might add. I'm not sure what happened with Captain Marvel. I'm not sure if it was bad directing, crap dialogue, or what, but her acting chops did not shine through in that film. She's just not a particularly likable character. Again, it doesn't help that Captain Marvel was never a particularly popular character in the comics either. But regardless, there was a time when Kevin Feige said that Captain Marvel was the future of the MCU. With the tragic death of Chadwick Boseman and the inability of Marvel Studios to raise Captain Marvel to the level of stardom they had hoped, Their plans for the future of the franchise likely got thrown out, and perhaps this explains the disaster that has been the last couple of years at Marvel. Either way, I really love making these and I'd like to keep making them, so please subscribe and like the video. If you love this sort of content, consider becoming a member. See you in the next one.